Hola a todos y gracias por estar con nosotros en este nuevo live de GCE, un live más, el cual nos permite acercarnos a ustedes y traerles temas de interés del mundo de los negocios. El día de hoy tenemos otro invitado muy especial y la entrevista de hoy va a ser en inglés. Él es el CEO de Gaia Digits y su nombre es CHENG YE. En estos momentos vive en Canadá. Así que yo intentaré en la medida de lo posible traducir un poco de lo que será esta entrevista con el señor Ye y contarles un poco de su trayectoria, de lo que hace hoy Gaia Digits para el mundo de los negocios. Mr. Yap, thank you for being with us. It's really a pleasure to have you and to learn more about your company and yourself, of course. And thank you for taking this as the opportunity to show some of our GCE audience about your products and, of course, yourself.
Okay, thank you, Sebastian. Thank you have the opportunity to have the dialogue with you and have the partnership with your company, GCE. GaiaDigits is a software company focused on cloud WFM solution, and we are the number one in APAC. And now we have the operations in Canada for almost 1 year, and we have the headquarters in North America in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Yeah.
Interesting. But let's not run ahead of ourselves here because I want to give a little background of who you are, Mr. Yeah, and all the work that you have done. I understand you that your undergrad in Wuhan, which is pretty famous nowadays in the news. You also went to Xidian University for a master in social science, and you did a master of science in Great Britain in Lancaster University. Um, and then I see here you have a lot of experience in the computer industry, and you have worked as manager. You had almost 11 years of experience in teleopti, and then now you're of course occupying that position of CEO and co-founder at Gaia. What do you talk to us before we get into Gaia and what Gaia is? A little bit about yourself, your history. Where have you lived in the world? How did your something that it really truly amazes me when I interview people that have been traveling around the world is how their perspective changed from the time they were born, the time they lived in their local country, and then now that they have gone everywhere.
Oh, that's a great question. So normally I'm the people like the academic. I'm very good in academic when I was in high school or in the university. And after university, I worked for a few years, and then I think, oh, I need to get back to university to get a master degree. First, you take a rest. Another one is that you can get back to university and think about for a few years what you will do in the future. So that's why I go to CDN University. And CDN University also changed my career because that university is very famous on computer and communication technologies. If you look at China's computer and communication industry, they have contributed a lot of talents from that university. And it also famous for the radar or for the military industries as well. So after I graduated from CDN University, I focus on the industry in communications. I have involved in the mobile handsets designs, sales, and then I have involved in the computer software business as well. A few years later, I go to the Lancaster University. At the same reason, I just want to take a break to see the world, enjoy the life, and then get back to business again. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's why I changed my tracks sometimes. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's great. We always like to know, what's your background, where you're coming from. It's always important to understand why you are where you are today. Why don't you talk to me and trying to get also into Gaia Digits a little bit? I see you're CEO and co-founder. Where did the idea come from? Who are your associates? What is Gaia Digits? Although you already explained a little bit about it, how did you come to this project, and how are you executing it right now?
Uh, if you look at my background, I have worked for Teleopti for 11 years. Teleopti is the technical vendor focused on workforce management, but they only focus on call center. So the principle or the knowledge behind the workforce is the same, but the application scenario is totally different. Uh, After I leave Teleopti, I joined Gaia Digits. I set up this company with Gaia Works. So it means that we focus on the workforce management in totally different industries, like the manufacturing, like the retailer, like the logistic, or the public sector as well.
Okay, well, some of the topics that we oh, and by the way, I want to invite anyone who's watching us if they have any questions and comments. I will be reading those throughout the interview as well. I'm sure Mr. Yeah would be happy to answer your questions. Lo diré en español. Los que quieran enviar preguntas o comentarios al chat o a las diferentes redes sociales que estamos manejando, también las pueden hacer. Yo con mucho gusto le haré la traducción al señor Ye para que él sea quien nos responda las preguntas en lo que tiene que ver con su plataforma, recursos humanos, Gaia Digits y bueno, la situación que vive el mundo de hoy. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see the essential business. Some of the topics that were proposed were, you know, the new norm. You mentioned the new norm after the pandemic in the essential business, and I would like to connect this to what Gaia Digits is, and then go ahead and ask you, what is the new norm?
I think the new norm is a big concept. If you look at new norm, you can get a conclusion from the four perspectives. For example, the first one is the consumer behavior. This consumer behavior changed totally, right? So we have the social distance and we have the traffic control when you shopping on site. So that's the new norm we're talking about in the retail. If you talk about the business behavior, then it's changed also quite a lot. So we work, remotely, and we also work in the office before, but now we work at home. That's big difference. I think the innovation was changed as well. So if you talk about the detailed tasks, work at home is okay. But if you talk about innovative projects, work at home is not that good, right? Especially for the developers. If we develop very complicated projects, the efficiency is down.
So certainly, this new norm that you mentioned has pushed your company to redesign and redevelop the strategy that you've been using all this time.
Yeah, a little bit. They changed our working methods. They changed our collaborations and communications, but so far they cannot change our projects or product roadmap. And we think probably the society will uh, get back in 1 year, and then we can go back to the lifestyle 90% 1 year later, probably. Yeah.
Interesting. There were some things also that we discussed at some point that you call as essential and non-essential business, and how does this relate to your strategy and to Gaia in terms of, you know, how you're going to start developing this technology and this in your operation around, you know, essential and non-essential, and why, and how are others not essential in terms of your I don't know if your clients or potential clients, and how has the pandemic affected this operations?
Hmm. Essential means some business provided basic living stuff and services to the human beings. For example, groceries, and there's some stuff like this way is not impacted by the COVID-19, right? So
Yeah.
they don't change. Their sales volume does not change. But some business was changed. For example, manufacturing, right? Some food manufacturing is still good, but if you talk about clothes, shoes, and the other stuff, that was impacted quite a lot. Even the cars or the machines industry was damaged in a little bit, right? Depends on
Mhm.
what percentage you're looking at that numbers. Uh, yeah, so the business environment was changed, so we changed our business focus as well. So we focus on the essential business at present, and then we will also look at the business like the must to have manufacturing business and the logistic industries. That was not impacted too much. So we picked up that market segment so far. Yeah.
Hmm. There's something that you mentioned at the beginning of this interview that I did want to touch upon a little bit, to see what's your perspective on the matter, and it was consumer behavior. And if you have already explained how the new norm is affecting consumer behavior. Maybe if you want to develop it a little bit further on that one, it would be great. But also, how is consumer behavior affecting clients or profit for companies like yours, for everyone in the workforce industry? Because maybe stores are not going to need as many employees, because maybe people are just not going to have to clock in and out anymore. Or maybe we're in a point in time that Gaia Digits and companies such are going to have to develop a way in which people clock in and out from home and it's reliable and not just a computer.
Yeah. Workforce is mainly focused on the people work on site so far. And if you talk about the workers or the intelligence workers worked for the software, for the cloud business, for that one, they don't need workforce management tools so far because they are not measured by how many working hours they spend. They're measured by the results or the outcomes. You can work at home or you can work in the office. So if you look at on the traditional workforce, almost 4 million people lost the jobs in Canada and 40 million. I think today probably the number is better. In United States, probably 30 million lost their jobs. So that people don't need clock in and clock out, right? But that's bad. I mean, to our business. So we can think about it in another way because these people lost the jobs and some people need the workforce and they need the short time workforce. That means the scheduling will be more difficult and they should know what's the availability time for that people. They need a platform to manage those people and the demand between the people and their business owners. So that's our advantage. Yeah.
So based on that, I would like to also ask you, what is then that new strategy that you think, and this is probably a question that it's not more so for the computer science world, but more so for the director, CEO, managers world, and is, what are those strategies that companies are going to have to start implementing
Mm-hmm.
for people to continue coming to their store, because it's all like a chain. People continue to come into their store, people continue to work in the retail area, or people continue buying cars, so the factory has to keep going. Yet then Gaia Digits continues to having a good financial development, right? So what's that chain of strategies that you believe, from a CEO's perspective, that everyone has to develop at once for it to work out?
Yeah. Good question. So focus on some industries was not impacted as seriously, and focus on some business have better business. Groceries, retailings was not impacted that much, right?
Mm, mhm,
And another business segment was increased, and it is a bit surprising. For example, logistics, Amazon business, Alibaba, or the online or e-commerce business increased quite a lot. You
mhm,
look at the just a click and buy, but there's a lot of people works behind it in the warehouse, in the delivery, in the transportation. They recruit more people, right? They
mm,
need the solutions for schedule, for time attendance, for the timesheet and the integration with payrolls. That's the opportunities. Yeah.
mm.
So you can see there some area the business is dropping, and some area you get more business.
Interesting, but that actually leads me to a next question that might be very interesting to discuss from your perspective. Someone with your background, and it's robotics, and
Hmm.
it's, your industry truly survives out of people going to work. And what I am seeing right now are the trends of, well, whereas we're not no longer going to have 500,000 or 5,000 employees at a factory, because
Hmm.
this will become a focus for what we're living today.
Yeah.
So in that area, I guess this question, it's actually two questions. First, do you think technological development that was coming at a fast pace will even be faster because of the situation we're living nowadays? And when I talk about that, I'm emphasizing robotics and of course artificial intelligence. And second, what is going to happen to your industry when we actually reach that point where no human needs to come to the factory?
Oh, that's a very big concept and a big question, and we think about a long time. And
I think we lost Mr. Yeah. Is that what happened? Can some
no,
Oh,
okay,
okay. There you are. There you are.
okay,
No worries. Let's start over.
yeah. So I think that question is repeated again and again, right? Every 10 years, you will face the similar questions. For
Mhm,
example, the big machines replace the laborers before, right?
mhm,
And from just a few years ago, AI is very popular, and we talk about a lot about AI and robotics. But the question is that how much work can be replaced first? And if that works was replaced, how many new jobs will be created behind it? We talk about the call center, and the call center use a lot of AI techniques behind it. For
mhm.
example, voice recognition. And today you talk with the agents. You don't really talk with the agents itself. You talk with the machine, right? They answer your first questions and
Yeah.
then send you to the right queue.
Which, by the way, I personally hate.
Okay, but that's the reality, right?
Trust me, when
Yeah,
I call the bank, when I call the phone carrier, I
yeah.
want somebody else to pick up the phone. I don't want the robot picking up the phone, but that's just me.
Yeah. So that's the trend. So you get the AI do a lot of jobs, but you also you created a lot of jobs to support AI or AI supporting because you need to classify the data. You
Mhm.
need to have the trainer for the data. It's the same. It will be happen the same in the traditional manufacturing as well. So
Okay.
that's my judgments. It definitely it will replace a little bit of the labor, but they create more value-added jobs behind it. So if we don't look at the problems in this way, then the future will be very terrible. That means that in the future, most people will don't have the job opportunity, right?
Well, I guess it's also a good perspective to have. It is true that we do face this question apparently every 10 years. It also seems like every 10 years we have a pandemic. Quite frankly, because 10 years ago we had H1B1, and then
Yeah, we have SARS, right?
honestly, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So it does make a lot of sense. Now, let's go back a little bit. Uh, when you said, I asked you about the chain and how business have to develop new strategies for workers and then Gaia Digits or your industry itself. I want to start asking you about those business strategies, because even though your background is computer science, you're clearly a businessman. So I want to ask you from that business and managerial CEO standpoint that you have about the economy and the job market, because it's part of the workforce. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you, do you think professionals who have lost their jobs due to COVID-19 will saturate the market looking for new opportunities? And when I mean that, I mean even professionals who probably have a degree, a master's,
Hmm.
they're going to have to go look into a more informal market, or maybe the retail market, maybe they're going to end up at the grocery store working. What is your perspective from for that topic?
Yeah. Your question means, do you mean some professionals lost their jobs And what's
Right.
the future for them? What kind
Correct.
of job they can get?
What is the future for them, and what is the future, yeah, but for them being the market as well, and the companies, because my perspective, quite frankly, is that a lot of people who were the quote unquote big dogs in the companies are being let go today,
Yeah,
and companies are staying with maybe not the big dog, but still someone who does the job. And then where are all those big dogs going to end up at? It's kind of the perspective.
that's the good question. We're talking about a replacement, the job replacement.
Correct.
It's happened in some markets for many, many years. So if you look at APEC, the replacement rate is very high. It means the some bad words. That means that very old and experienced people just replaced by the younger people quickly. And when they go over more than 50 years old, it's very hard for them to get back to, high tier career markets. That's the facts. I think it's happened in North America or in Europe, also in the similar situation, right?
Hmm.
So in the pandemic, once the professional lost the jobs, we'll try hard to get back to the professional job markets.
Hmm.
But some people probably will lose their position for a long time, or for, I cannot say forever, but yeah, but that's the facts. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me stop here a little bit and kind of translate and sum up what you have mentioned for Spanish speaking audience. So you can have a sip of tea if you will, if you wish. Bueno, realmente ha sido una conversación muy interesante con el señor Ye. Él dice, bueno, hablamos un poco de su compañía. Sabemos que Gaia Digits desarrolla softwares para todo lo que es el manejo de personal en fábricas y en el sector del retail. Y básicamente lo que nos dice el señor Ye es que sí se ha visto afectada la industria por las personas que han salido de las empresas que no son esenciales en los sistemas. Pero, por ejemplo, Gaia Digits también tiene clientes de los supermercados, de las farmacias, de los productores de comida, y dice que estos mercados no se han visto tan afectados, que realmente el personal de estos mercados sigue en pie, y asimismo los números y supongo yo la facturación para la industria del manejo de personal. Adicional a eso, hablamos un poco de la robótica y le pregunté si la pandemia iba a acelerar el desarrollo tecnológico en los diferentes países, ya un desarrollo que venía muy, muy, muy avanzado y a un pace muy alto, a un ritmo muy alto, pero que hoy parece que va a ser aún más. Y también le pregunté si el hecho de que ese desarrollo concluyese en el desarrollo de la robótica iba a reemplazar un poco todos los trabajadores de esa industria que Gaia Digits atiende. Y lo que él me dice es, cada 10 años tenemos la misma pregunta, cada 10 años creemos que se van a acabar los trabajos y que la robótica nos va a extinguir, pero no, realmente al incluir y al implementar la tecnología, también necesitamos personas que se encarguen de otras cosas. Por ejemplo, muchos de estos robots funcionan con inteligencia artificial y lo que necesitamos es, de alguna u otra manera, que se le enseñe la inteligencia artificial a los robots, que se desarrollen nuevos programas también, digamos, en cuanto a inteligencia y desarrollo artificial, y también hay una parte operativa para eso, para la cual también se necesita personal. Adicional a eso, también hablamos un poco del mercado laboral y cómo se ve afectado y cómo muchas personas que tienen cargos muy importantes hoy día en compañías, pues están saliendo por causa del COVID y de la situación económica mundial que se está viviendo. Pero realmente él sí lo pone un poco en la perspectiva de que siempre ha sido un trend, siempre ha sido digamos, un tema caliente, y que adicionalmente no es solo del momento, sino que desde antes y por mucho tiempo, pues se ha venido dando esa situación en la que los más jóvenes siempre sacan a los más veteranos del camino. Esas son algunas de las cosas que hemos conversado. Les invito a que dejen sus preguntas o comentarios en inglés, español, en cualquier lengua, para que se las hagamos al señor Ye, que muy amablemente nos está acompañando hoy. Bueno, si producción lo puede volver a poner en la pantalla. All right. Well, I have sum up some of what we have spoken. I know you don't understand what I said, but I promise I did it to the best of my ability.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I will make sure to say it as close as I can. So then one of your Hispanic friends watches and said, no, he wasn't saying what you were saying. All right, let's move on a little bit to what's business worldwide practices let's talk about what factors you think after I guess more in terms of post COVID are gonna affect worldwide operations in terms of particularly retail and manufacturing, because these are the services you pretty much the clients you have. So
Mhm.
how do you think new business practices are going to affect worldwide operations, yet then affecting probably a provider like you?
Mm. Uh, we can think about this question for business operations into perspective. One is how about to think about the COVID-19 impacts and afterwards. I think that before that, we think about globalization. We just choose their components or services is from their perspective of the cost of efficiency, right? If
Hmm.
someone can offer me the good products with good price, I will pick it up. But now you should think about how's it about the delivery time, and the safety. Then you will narrow down the supply chain. And the supply chain will be changed from the globalization to regionalization. That's another word, right?
Mm.
So some people, the big brands, will choose the vendors nearby, not too far away. Another factor, it will be impacted by the geopolitical issues,
Hmm.
and there is a lot of political conflicts in the world. The conflicts in the value in the business code. Something happens, and that will also impact the business operations as well. So in the future, I think that if you have run the business globally, you must act more locally than before. Before, we can just think about we have our headquarters somewhere, and we have the local small operation office everywhere in the world to get the local business. But in the future, we need to set up the very important resources locally in the market as well. So that's the difference. I think that will change very quickly after the pandemic.
Mm. Let me ask you this, because it's something that I have touched upon when I write, when I give my opinions, and it's something I have called deglobalizing pretty much. And just straight out, do you think that's what's happening with the world right now? We're being forced to deglobalize somehow.
No, not like we cannot use the word deglobalization. I think I will use another word to replace it, regionalization. That means that the market will be grouped by the nearby countries and regions more than before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Do you think, but do you think then wouldn't this have a bigger impact in the way economy and business was being handled before COVID, in terms of maybe exporters and importers of either goods, services, or light software licenses, you name it. It's not gonna be it's they're not gonna have such an open market. So then we're not gonna be able to see as many profits and as many products in different places of the world as we used to.
I see the market is still be the open market, but the barrier will be much higher than before. The barrier will coming from the tariff, the first problem, right? The tariff will be increased. Another problem is that the people or the buyer will prefer to choose some solutions, components, suppliers from the nearby region to mitigate the risks.
Okay, so this is pretty much in terms of goods, I guess, and of course manufacturing. But So what about your industry? What about the intangible softwares? That's not going to be certainly regionalized, right? That's going to
Yeah,
continue to be a worldwide.
yeah, that's a good question. If you look at the software business, it can be, handle everything remotely, and you can. I talked about if you look at Google, if you look at Amazon, if you look at Facebook, they have the big, huge operations in the headquarters in California or somewhere, and they have only the satellite offices worldwide to manage the sales, manage the operations there, right? Well, so that model probably will be changed as well. So we look at something like that. So you have the R&D resources is the most important. You put in one country or just one or two countries before. But I think in the future, it will be break down into, more regionalized, like the Gaia digits. We just put the solution so far in APAC, but we will move more and more resources locally to Canada. And for two reasons. The first is the customer requirements. We must react on the customer requirements more quickly. Another one is that we must remove the culture difference or culture conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to make the support is better.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting that is a client requirement that you guys can't operate with certain clients if you're not geographically located at a certain point. That's
yeah. Uh,
something I
if
never
you look at
considered, for example.
you can look at the data. If you access to the applications locates in from these parts to that parts, the reaction, is a bit slow, right?
Right.
That's the physical speed. And so if you want to operate the business better, you must move your operations close to that market as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Correct. Correct. Now, when you're talking about getting closer to the market, are you talking about not only operation, but also, I guess, in terms of a sales strategy, it's easier, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Globally means the locally as well.
Globally means locally. I like that one.
Yeah.
So okay. So let me translate for some of our Spanish speaking people. Bueno, lo que el señor Jay dice, hablamos un poco de lo que veníamos hablando de la globalización, que además lo hemos tratado en otros lives aquí a través de GCE. Y él dice que ciertamente no debemos utilizar el término desglobalizar, sino que lo que está sucediendo a continuación es sencillamente regionalizar. Y de ahora en adelante lo que vamos a ver es que va a haber una regionalización de los productos, de los bienes que se manufacturan. Ahora tal vez vamos a empezar a comprarle a menos países a nivel mundial los bienes y productos, y lo vamos a poner digamos, en un ámbito más regional, un ámbito más continental. Él también dice que lo que respecta a los servicios intangibles, como es la venta de softwares, por ejemplo, o el workforce que ellos tienen, pues él dice, sinceramente, es algo que seguirá sí a nivel global. De hecho, dice que algunos clientes tienen requerimientos que aunque no sea un software, digamos, que aunque sean requerimientos de apoyo remoto, sí hay clientes que piden que exigen que estén ubicados en ciertas ubicaciones geográficas. Por ejemplo, hay clientes en Norteamérica que les exigían estar en una cierta ubicación geográfica, y es por eso que hace un año aproximadamente Gaia Digits abrió su operación formalmente en Canadá. Finalmente, con todo esto dice, pues que debido a los factores políticos, digamos, los valores del mercado y las diferentes disputas que habían antes y seguramente van a haber ahora después del COVID, que no todo el mundo va a poder transitar libremente, eso definitivamente afecta ese concepto de regionalización, y que igualmente es un aprovechamiento para desarrollarlo local, porque él al final cierra con una frase muy, muy interesante que dice, igual global significa local. Entonces, más o menos eso es lo que, lo que nos está contando el señor Ye. Um, I want to ask you, and of course, I don't want to make this too long for your audience. We're going to try to keep it short, but I want to ask you about your company, and
Mhm.
and I want to move forward to ask you, what are your expectations for the upcoming years, um, even upcoming months, in terms of how do you want to grow? How do you see Gaia Digits? You have been growing at a fast pace. You are now in Canada. You opened recently an operation there. You're now in North America. I'm not quite familiar with your competitors, but what are those goals that Gaia Digits has for the future?
We put it very simple. So the first we survived in Canada and the United States market, the first. And once we survived here, and then we will think about penetrate Europe markets. I think that will happen the 2 years or 3 years later. Yeah, that's it. Because we want to have a global markets. Once we have the US and the European markets, then we think about the South America,
Okay.
Middle East, and Africa. Yeah,
What? Why
that's
did
the.
you? Why did you penetrate it first? Well, I do have two questions based on that answer. Why did you penetrate first America instead of Europe? What was the determining factor to penetrate first North America?
Uh, it's quite simple because if you look at Europe, Europe market is much slightly should be slightly bigger than America, but it's more difficult because you have more culture, more language, and the support, business support will be more complicated. So we need to think about to take some slightly easy market first.
Okay,
Mm.
and then my second question is, it seems like North America and Europe are good markets, but in terms of manufacturing, especially
Mhm.
Africa and South America might have a very strong market. Why would Gaia Digits look first at Europe before looking at this two other continents?
Uh, Manufacturing definitely. APAC is the biggest market, and then Mexico and South America, Southeast Asia is also very big. But if you look at the overall market, because the overall market consists by the logistics, manufacturing, retail. Retail is much bigger, right? So if you take the overall market, then North America is still the biggest market, or the one of the biggest market in the world.
Okay, well, I do have, I will tell you this. I'm going to translate a little bit of what we're saying, and then I do have some questions for you here.
Hmm.
Um, from people who are watching us. Bueno, básicamente lo que el señor Ye dice es sencillamente que los objetivos, yo le pregunté por los objetivos de Gaia Digits de cara al futuro y simplemente él me ha dicho que su expansión la quisieron hacer en América porque el mercado era más favorable en Norteamérica, que hoy están mirando hacia el futuro, quieren ver más en términos de Europa. Si hay una línea de mercado, le pregunté yo por qué no mirar a las Américas y a África, si tiene una industria manufacturera tan grande. Le pido a producción si me pueden meter en la pantalla. Y, y sencillamente lo que él me dice es que sí, pero que hay desarrollos que tiene Gaia Digits que no están listos para cumplir, para comprar, digamos, los mercados de las Américas y de África. Bueno, vamos con las preguntas. I'm going to read the question in Spanish and then I'll translate for you to be able to answer. Producción, si está por ahí, si me pueden meter en la pantalla, se los agradezco. Tengo a John Pedro Ferrana. John Pedro Ferrana pregunta, teniendo en cuenta la actual era digital, la imagen de marca que proyecta una empresa debe ser atractiva para ser capaz de atraer al mejor talento hoy. Y si aún las compañías debemos hacer más esfuerzos en la gestión del employment branding. So this question is from Jean Pedro Ferrana.
Hmm.
And basically what he's asking is, um, once we have acknowledged that we are currently going through the digital era, and everything is digitalized nowadays. The corporate image that a company projects um, has to be improved in order to bring talent to the company in this job crisis. And then he goes ahead and asks the second question, which is the one I find actually very important. He's asking, do companies still, even though there is like a current world situation and everyone is looking for jobs, do companies still have to strengthen their efforts in terms of doing employment branding to attract talent?
I try to understand your question. Do you mean so in the crisis of the pandemic, the employer or the business owners or the business operation managers should be, you know, the to take the actions to keep the talent? Do you ask?
Right, right. He's asking first, pretty much, if we want to, if companies should actually keep the talents because it's a reputation kind of thing. And second, if employee branding, meaning that somebody feels attracted to work for your company, and not just I'm here because I need the job and we're going through a crisis, and which is what's happening nowadays, that we're going through a crisis, so I will take whatever I can get. But from the employer's perspective, I guess some employers might think, okay, well, people need jobs, so I don't have any to make any efforts in keeping anyone on board. Or even when I try to bring an employee, I don't even have to invest in marketing, in good reviews, in image. So he's asking if nowadays that's going to make a difference or not in the job market.
I think that we can think about the questions in different ways. The first one is that you talk about the enterprise social responsibility. Yes, my answer is yes. In this situation, most companies should try best to keep their employment. That's most important issue. You keep the employment, then you pay the employee, and the employee have the capability to consume the products and the service in the market, then keep the society in a good shape. That's the first point. Another one is that you need to think about how to enhance your competition advantage in the market. You need always to think about to keep the talents or even recruit the new talents. If you look at the numbers in this young digital digital technology company like the Google, like Facebook, like Instagram, the average young people, the average of the employee age should be 29 around. And if you look at the more successful, I mean, they grow faster company, the age is younger. For example, TikTok, their employee age is just 26 or 27, right?
Yeah.
So in the pandemic, in the difficult parts, you should keep the employment by yourself. Try hard to keep the employment, but at the same time, most people don't want to fight with you in the university job markets. But this is the right time to pick up the talents in that market. I always think about there's a lot of problems. You need the experienced people to fix it. You also need the young people to think about to fix it. And the young people is much smarter than the experienced managers to fix that problem. Yeah, that's my thinking. So Gaia Digits is still trying to recruit the young people from the university because we are not big. We can just recruit one or two, but we still try to recruit the young people to join the organization, to make the organization more smart, more proactive. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Bueno, para traducir un poco la respuesta y a la persona que la preguntó, el señor Ye dice, mira, es tan sencillo como que eso es algo que debe continuar, y los talentos siempre se deben guardar, en especial porque la competencia siempre está al acecho de los buenos talentos, y si los dejas ir, al final del día ya van a ir a dar. Adicional a eso dice que compañías como Google, como TikTok, como Uber, pues son compañías que si tú miras el promedio de su personal, son compañías el promedio de edad de sus trabajadores oscila entre los 25 y los 30 años. Entonces, es importante que las compañías continúen teniendo contrataciones de talentos y de talentos jóvenes también. Y adicionalmente enfaticen que Gaia, pues tal vez no es una multinacional muy grande que pueda contratar a muchas personas digamos, en el mundo, pero que sí, como además responsabilidad social corporativa, implementan programas para contratar mentes, cerebros fugados, mentes muy brillantes de las universidades, digamos, que se hayan graduado y puedan hacer desarrollo tecnológico. Bueno, I do have another question here. These questions are quite long, but I will ask them. Then after I finish here, I have a couple of more questions for you, and then you're a free soul.
Okay.
Marcos Augusto Ramírez Castillo pregunta: en los últimos años las empresas hemos cambiado radicalmente la forma en que evaluamos a nuestros empleados. Para ello, ha habido un reentrenamiento a los líderes para implementar nuevas metodologías de seguimiento del trabajo. ¿Qué hacer hoy con este nuevo tiempo en que se están adoptando metodologías team-centric que se focalizan en el trabajo en equipo, más que fijarse en los logros individuales del empleado? ¿Debemos centrarnos en evaluar el impacto de la contribución de este en el equipo? Okay, it is a long question, so I'm going to try to sum it up for you. He's basically saying that throughout the past years, all companies have developed new ways in which they evaluate their employees.
Mm-hmm.
And that nowadays there is a lot of, he calls it team-centric, which means, I guess, little teams working together,
Mm-hmm.
in which it becomes harder to evaluate the individual. So first, he's asking, should we have a better approach in terms of, or a new approach in terms of evaluating a team itself, and what added value the individual brings to the team rather than just the individual isolated? That's the first question. And then the second question is, people are working from home nowadays. Hard to measure KPIs with people working from home, at least. So what's going to be the new rule for that?
If you look at that question, so you can think about what's your mission to manage this company. You fix the problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you manage the people, organize the people to fix the problems or create the opportunities. So you measure the organization, the teams or the departments or the project organizations. You just measure how many problems or opportunities they created, right? And if you measure the individuals, then think about it in another way, how they identify the problem scope. The most important for the individuals is not to fix the problem, because fix problem need a lot of people, but the individual contribution could be, how do you scope the problems? When you scope the problem very clearly, then you can fix it. You judge the people by scope the problem. If someone can scope the problem very clearly, then he is a talent. Try best to keep him. Yeah, I cannot answer the questions, such big questions. Just answer some small, their experience or tactics.
Interesting. Ok. Bueno, básicamente lo que dice el señor Ye es, mira, las personas hay que continuarlas midiendo por dos cosas. Primero, su habilidad para resolver problemas y su capacidad de crear oportunidades dentro de los grupos o individualmente, y así es como se debe hacer esa evaluación y ese proceso. Y él insiste en que los talentos se deben guardar, que los talentos hay que intentar mantenerlos en las compañías, sin importar si es el gerente o el operario. Si son talento, hay que intentar guardarlos en las compañías. Okay, we do have actually a lot of questions. We have an avalanche of questions, but I'm actually just going to ask you the last one. Felipe Tasher. This question is actually in English, so it's a good one. New leaders will have different skills than previous generations, but most companies have not moved fast enough to develop digital leaders. This is a problem and a recurring dilemma in the country of Mexico. I guess he wants to know what's your approach to that. Different. I mean, you're a CEO at Gaia, so you're a leader.
Mm,
How to develop, and quite frankly, sometimes those positions of BP, CEO are occupied by people with huge amount of experience, but maybe not so much digital experience.
mhm,
I quite frankly don't think it's your case, given your background, but sometimes it is.
mhm.
So what is your approach to that?
I don't understand who raised this question and what his background. If we talk about traditional industry,
Hmm.
it's very hard for me to understand to answer that question. But my personal suggestion is that you talk about the leadership, whatever is in the past of today, leadership has changed a lot. The first is that you know the problem, you fix the problem, and you organize the resources, and then think about it, the cost behind it. The most effective leader is just to find the cost-effective way to create the opportunities and fix the problems. So if you talk about the digital leadership's value is to lower the cost for the people to collaboration, to communication. So that's my understanding behind it. So
Mm,
if you, we always ask ourselves a question: who moved the technology forwards? Some people said CTO, CIO. Some people said it's COVID-19, right? It's a joke. I think finally it's still the people. The people want to find a fast way, a effective way to communicate, to organize the resources to fix the problems. So that's it. So whatever you are in the software company, in the IT company, try to think about invest in the digital communication platform. Try to manage the people uh, by the data.
mm. Mm, I want to ask. I mean, we're running out of time, so I can't really get to more questions. I apologize with our audience, but I want to ask you what, just kind of to wrap it up, what new strategies and what new internal protocols is Gaia implementing due to COVID and moving on after that? Just maybe if you can share a little bit of what Gaia Digits is doing, maybe as a learning exercise also for other companies that are watching.
Mhm. That we talk about micro innovations is a new concept from concept just a few years. So when you manage a big solution, you try to make the big solutions perfect. It's good, but you need a lot of resources to do it. Okay, wait a moment.
It's okay, don't worry. Take your
Yeah.
time. I think your camera just went off there.
Hmm. I don't know what's happened.
It's all right. Don't worry. Don't worry. Take your time there.
Hmm. Or I just answered the question. We can wrap up, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we talk about micro innovations. For the big solutions we already have, we will make the environments. But
Hmm.
once the crisis happened, we think about how to fix the problems more quickly. If you want to make a big solution, it's very hard. So you can think about micro innovations. So we just design a very small application named the Gaia Screen. We ask the people report the health status, and then once the people in the risk environments, as the manager, you think about remind him or her for the self-isolation and
Hmm.
try to avoid schedule him or her into the workplace.
Mm,
That's the way to protect the people. And this application is small and effective. We just put it somewhere and a few people make the registrations, start to use it, and we help the local community in this way. And if more people to use it, we will make this application into our mobile app and then make it more robust. So think about it in this way. Yeah, small innovations, big changes.
small innovations, big changes. That, I think that's really how Mr. Yeah wraps it up. I do have a last question for you, although we don't have your camera right there. But I
Yeah.
want to ask you, having finished with the topic of this live, and before the time runs out here, um, is there a story behind the painting that was right behind you during the interview,
Uh,
or is it just a painting that you like?
I think that's the painting I like because I traveled in Europe countries for in the past probably more than 10 years. I traveled a lot of European countries, so I
Mm.
picked some pictures with European streets.
And
That's it.
that one particularly is in France or in Paris, or where
No
is it?
idea because
No idea.
I just picked the paintings in the shop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mr. Yeah, thank you so much for being with us. If you want to leave a last message, although it was pretty clear, I believe small innovations, big changes. But if you want to just to leave your audience with one last message, and of course, thank you for your time for this live that has been very productive. We're very honored at GCE to have you here today, and of course myself. I always think down the road, some years down the road, when I look back at these interviews, it's really all a learning experience for me as well. So I appreciate it, and I will just give it to you for a last message.
Thank you, Sebastian, and thanks for the hosting of GCE for this interview. It's a great time, and we shared a lot of knowledge, ideas, and experience behind it. If the audience have any questions about workforce management, like the employee scheduling, like the how to manage the people's organization, time attendance, how to manage how to run the data for the payroll more effectively, we are the experts. Please approach us. And
All right.
thank you for your time.
Can you provide your email address just verbally for people to have
Yeah,
it?
my email is at cheng dot ye at GAIADIGITS.com.
Perfect. Perfect, Mr. Yeah, thank you so much. Gracias a toda nuestra audiencia hispana también que nos ve, y a todas las personas que se conectaron a este live haciendo sus preguntas. Ha sido un placer compartir con ustedes y los esperamos en un próximo live también de estos en los que podamos compartir más cosas del mundo empresarial y de la vida en general. Un abrazo. Gracias.
Thank you. Bye bye. 黑奴，再见。
Hey, bro.